Here are our top 10 movies of 2021. This is Nerdist Now. 2021 has been a weird year, huh? For everything. In the entertainment world, the year began with studios fully unsure movies would even come out. Thanks to the vaccines, we have an absolutely stuffed holiday movie schedule. Of course, still abide by your city's health ordinances and your own comfort level, but that means there have been a blessedly high number of genre movies of all kinds that have found an audience. Now, this list is based on my personal preference through the lens of Nerdist as a whole, so think of these as Kyle Anderson's top 10 Nerdist movies of the year. And if you don't like my picks, that's totally fine, just please be nice to me. I have a wife and cats. Also, this list will be alphabetical because we've been through enough this year without having to resort to the pain of trying to rank things. I'm so tired. Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes. I saw this one via Fantasia Fest this year, and boy did I love it. It's a clever one-shot take on a time loop movie, and sure, we've seen plenty of lo-fi time travel flicks, but this endearing comedy from Japan has the owner of a cafe learn that he can communicate with himself in the past via 2 computer monitors, one in his apartment upstairs and one in the cafe downstairs. Things get out of hand very quickly as the filmmakers stretch the concept, but at its core, it's a sweet little romantic comedy. With time cops. Dune! We were hoping against hope that Denis Villeneuve's adaptation of the first half of Frank Herbert's classic sci-fi tome would finally live up to the promise of the source material. It completely shattered my expectations. From the design of the planets and societies to the fantastic sound-based score from Hans Zimmer, everything about the aesthetic worked beautifully. And you really can't beat a cast like that. We cannot wait for part 2 to see the next part of Paul and Lady Jessica's journey. And more sandworms, of course. More sandworm content, always. The Green Knight. One of the movies that got pushed back a whole year because of the pandemic only made us want to see it more. The dark fantasy take on Arthurian myth was lavish without being lush and enigmatic without being unknowable. We have never seen a movie quite like the one David Lowery gave us. It changed a lot about the myth, but in fascinating and modern ways. Plus, there's a cute talking fox, which will always give it points in our book. In the Earth. If you love creepy folklore and hallucinatory horror, you absolutely need to watch In the Earth. Director Ben Wheatley does it better than just about anyone. Wheatley made this horror flick during 2020, and it takes place during some fictional future pandemic. But that's all sort of window dressing to get to the real meat of the piece, which is a pair of scientists out in the wilderness who happen upon a reclusive other scientist who has communed with some sort of strange nature spirit, which has turned him homicidal. It's a surprisingly effective and quite terrifying movie, on top of being trippy as hell. Last Night in Soho. Edgar Wright's most straightforward horror movie mixes 60s style and killer soundtrack with elements of Italian Gothic and giallo cinema. A genre of film I might know a thing or two about, if you didn't know by me constantly talking about it. A young fashion student rents a flat in an old building in Soho and begins experiencing hypnotic, vivid hallucinations of life in the 60s through the eyes of a go-getting wannabe singer. Unfortunately, the gloss wears off pretty quickly, and a decades-old murder mystery plot unravels. But it sort of isn't about any of that. It might be the movie that rewarded me the most on repeat viewing of any of the films on our list. Nightmare Alley. Let Guillermo del Toro make all the movies set in 1940s sideshows he wants. More of them. More, I say. He and co-writer Kim Morgan mounted a very handsome and divinely bleak look at hucksters and charlatans in Middle America on the brink of World War II. While the director's work is always preoccupied with monsters, this movie shows us it doesn't take much to push normal people toward the bestial. It's also got a lot of great mustaches. And cigarettes. Oh, so many cigarettes. No Time to Die. It really could have gone either way with Daniel Craig's final outing as James Bond. While his first and third entries were excellent, his second and fourth were decidedly not. But what we got, in addition to excellent action direction from Cary Joji Fukunaga, was a surprisingly heartfelt and sentimental farewell. It really looks at what such a man would be like after years of being a brash secret agent, and how he could possibly say goodbye to all that. It's a long movie, but quite a rewarding one. Spiderman No Way Home! Yes, I know, this movie just hit theaters last week, and no spoilers, don't worry, but we absolutely love this movie. It's not just the third of Tom Holland's MCU Sony Spider-Man movies, it's an exploration of what it means to even be Spider-Man in the first place. What does it mean for him to have great power and great responsibility? How does he cope with villains he's never met who already hate him? Can he, like Peter Parker always wonders, be a superhero and have a normal life? It's just a blast. And if you want to dig deeper into it, we've got you covered on Nerdist.com with plenty of spoiler-filled and spoiler-free Spidey content. Just so much of it. Go read it all. The Suicide Squad. Speaking of blasts, I've watched James Gunn's sort of follow-up to the terrible 2016 movie more than any other new release this year. I just think it's the perfect synthesis of everything great about DC's wide array of villains who aren't just one-note baddies. It's very funny, but also surprisingly sad at times. Gunn wasn't afraid to actually kill characters we care about. It's clever and exciting, and just the most fun I had watching any movie in 2021. And how can you not love Weasel? I mean, I know he's a terrifying murderer, but just look at that face. And that weird run. That is a weird, disturbing run. Titan. Look, it's not every year we get to put the Cannes Palme d'Or winner on our list of best genre movies. It almost does a disservice to Julia Ducournau's second feature to even describe it. Her feature debut, Raw, shocked and pushed boundaries in some very unpleasant ways. Titan does exactly the same thing, while also seemingly giving even fewer fucks about everything. It's a horror movie, a dark comedy, a sci-fi movie, and a touching story about loss, grief, and loneliness all in the same film. This is really true. I watched the last 25 minutes of it with my hands just like glued to my head. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and I can't think of any higher praise than that. And if anybody tells you that they've watched a more buck-wild movie in 2021, they are wrong. And there you have it, our top 10 films of 2021. There were a ton of releases this year, both genre and non-genre alike, that you should absolutely go seek out. Absolutely go watch Joachim Trier's The Worst Person in the World whenever it finds its way to American shores. That was actually my favorite movie of the year, but it's very hard for Nerdist to be like, our favorite movie of the year is a talky Norwegian romance drama. But tell us, what were your favorite movies of 2021? Are you as mad at me as producer Adam is that Malignant isn't on this list? Why would you want Malignant? It's not even the best.
For Best Picture.
For Best Picture?
Yes.
It's not even the best horror movie of the year.
Best Picture.
What do you think we should have included? Let us know in the comments below, and for the latest and greatest in the world of pop culture, stay tuned to Nerdist.com.